gringos, that's the word for everyone, like from people of the States, from people of Europe. Yeah, all of you are gringos for us. But it's mostly the yeah, like if you have if you are white or stuff, yeah, you are going to be called gringo, and probably some people that are brown or darker, you sometimes you don't know if he's gringo or not. You have to listen to him, if, how he speaks, and if he speaks like with an accent of, or if he doesn't speak Spanish, he's gringo. So everyone that doesn't speak Spanish is
a gringo.
Is gringo. That says the pricing per square meter, it's very affordable. You can have a house for $400 per square meter, and you also can have a house. It depends of the finishes for $800 per square meter.
So like $400 to $800 a square meter. So that's like
$40 and $80 in
a square foot. If you don't have those deep social ties and the nuanced understanding of the communication and the innuendo and how that works, and then even like you watch Ecuadorians talk to each other and negotiate and go into business deals and stuff, the way they go about making their points to get a little discount or to get an advantage in the negotiation is so different than the way we would do it, right? I mean, here people might tell you their personal life story in a business setting, in a negotiation. Can you imagine? You're sitting in a boardroom in New York and someone's telling you about how their kid, needs surgery, and it would never happen. It would almost be offensive if somebody brought that into the negotiation. So it's like you have a lot of advantages here as a foreigner based on people's perceptions of foreigners and then the way they treat you as a result. So people here, are very friendly and helping and kind, in my opinion, in general. And then I believe there's an extra level of that for foreigners, right? So you get a little, like you said, you get an extra level of service, an extra level of kindness. And you also, people tend to, the stereotype I've noticed sometimes with foreigners is that they're on time and they do what they say, right? And you can really use that as an advantage, because when you're talking to someone, they already automatically take you seriously. Whereas if an Ecuadorian calls, they might be like, they don't know if he's gonna show up, they don't know if they're gonna be on time, they don't know if he really has what he says he has, these kinds of things, at least from a perception, from a stereotype standpoint. And so, as a foreigner, yeah, you kind of have that advantage of sort of being taken seriously no matter what.
Interesting. I like how you say that people don't panic here, and it's true. You see that the people, the culture. People are
with the Ecuadorians, right?
With the Ecuadorians,
see the opposite in the
gringos.
Exactly.
There's a fire, right there, and nobody's panicking.
Right.
Except the gringo.
For people that are watching that maybe not know, like internationally, Noboa, like what he campaigned on, attracting foreign investment. He campaigned on creating jobs for young people in the country, and then he campaigned on combating the soaring crime rates, particularly around like the criminal drug trade, and he even floated ideas about floating prisons and these more extreme ideas to keep some of these drug traffickers out of the country.
Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have an exciting one today? We are joined, Brandon stole my seat. See, if Brandon hadn't stolen my seat, then you'd be able to see myself and Milton right now. Unfortunately...
Well, you're like a 90-year-old woman. You had to pee like 6 times since we got here already.
At least I didn't pee on the floor like your dog did 6 times yesterday.
She's like a 90-year-old dog. Exactly.
So, you'd be able to see, Milton's beautiful face, but unfortunately now we're gonna have to cut and show it. So that's Milton. Hopefully you guys are seeing. Welcome back. This is gonna be a fun episode, right? We're 3 foreigners babbling about Ecuador, who have a collective, I'm going 25 years here, I believe. But, we're not from here. So, at the end of the day, you're talking about a place that you're not from, that that you have whatever perspective you have, but it's really good to grab someone who's local, who's been here their whole life. Milton happens as well to have done a lot of traveling. So Milton spent time in the States, time in other places. He travels, he's traveled many places and many times. So he has that perspective as well on some of the differences between here and there. Milton's, a really good friend of mine. I've known Milton probably, 8-9 years or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
At this point.
Like that.
And then, Milton's part of our team as well. So, Milton's one of our highest recommended builders. So Milton is a developer and an architect and a builder in the area. Definitely one of the best in this region for sure. So he has a lot of expertise as well in construction and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to jump into politics and safety and all kinds of stuff. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Welcome back. Please right now hit the like button on the video. If you have questions for Milton, for us, put them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'll try to get those answered either in the comments or on future episodes. So let's jump right into it. So we just had an election here recently, which we could have like a 2-hour comedy episode on like politics in Latin America or like politics in Ecuador. It's very different. There's lots of differences. It's if you come from the States and you're used to elections there, it's funny. It's funny the way elections are here. They have a whole different set of rules. In the States, we have basically 2 parties. There's 2 nominees. It's a 2-horse race. Whereas in Ecuador, you got 3,742 parties. No, I don't know how many parties you have, 20, 30 parties, maybe more. And you've got a lot of candidates. I think this time there's maybe 12 or something candidates for the presidency. Maybe there was 3 or 4 serious ones. And you've got also different rules here about elections. So basically you have election season here that's very short. You have a period of time that they're allowed to campaign. They also get public money for campaigns, which you don't have that in the States either, to my knowledge. And then you have this very short election cycle where you've got, packs of folks in pickup trucks and signs and bullhorns and flags and stuff, riding around and doing processions and holding rallies. And that's kind of like how the election, it almost is like a popularity contest of like who has the most signs or something.
Dancing, singing and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's not very contentious. It's not something where it's not something people are angry about. People have their feelings, of course. Politics will stir feelings, but it's not like back home where Trump supporters and Clinton supporters would like to murder each other, basically, right? People here are much more relaxed about the whole thing. So anyways, and they also have, it's also, it's not just a one-shot deal, right? They have an election, and then if you don't reach a certain threshold, one candidate doesn't reach a certain threshold, then there's a runoff, what they call the segunda vuelta. So anyways, so we've had an election, we've talked about this a couple of times, but basically the wealthiest family in Ecuador, a well-known business family, the son is now president of Ecuador. He's the youngest president in the history of Ecuador.
35 years old.
Wow. Man, younger than
35.
Younger than us, all of us.
No, he's a little.
Carl's a little young.
And his dad is the richest man in Ecuador.
Yeah. And so, everyone has their opinions. Obviously, politics are controversial no matter what your opinion is. But I'd like to start with just sort of what your thoughts are on the election. Obviously there was an assassination on one of the candidates. I think that candidate. I can say that candidate was the guy Villavicencio who was killed was who you would have voted for, because you told me, I believe, if I remember correctly, to vote for him. Some other people I really respect and asked who to vote for also told me Villavicencio. So it seems like he was someone who people who I agree with politically liked. Then we end up with Noboa, who's, I don't even know how you'd characterize him. Things are written that he's sort of center left. Other people think he's from the right. Like, I don't even really know. But anyways, he's president now. Or he'll take office in January or next month. He took office already.
So he's through May 2025. He's through Lasso's term.
Okay, and that's a whole nother story, right? But without getting into that too much. So anyways, where are we at? Like, where do you think?
Before we jump into that, for people that are watching that maybe not know, like internationally, Noboa, like what he campaigned on, at least from what I could read, again, I translated everything from Spanish, but he campaigned on attracting foreign investment. He campaigned on creating jobs for young people in the country, and then he campaigned on combating the soaring crime rates, particularly around like the criminal drug trade, and he even floated ideas about floating prisons and these more extreme ideas to keep, you know, some of these drug traffickers out of the country. So that's kind of at least the core tenets of the things he campaigned on, and we all know that politicians say whatever they want, so maybe these are just you know, campaign promises, because from, you know, what I've read also is that his cabinet, you know, the cabinet selection or the rest of the what's the rest of the government called? Is it parliament?
Assembly.
Assembly. Right, that maybe aren't necessarily supportive of him. So that's just, I just want people to kind of understand just the high level. This is kind of who he was, or what he campaigned on, and then also that it seems like internationally it was like, you know, cautious optimism for this kind of candidate. So.
Yeah, well, like he has a very short period of time, and he has to run in every decision that he's making. So, like in terms of foreigner investment, he's making a new economic law that is going through the assembly, and they are changing things. Also, a good thing in my field is that they are going to take some of the taxes on the construction materials. So that's
They're gonna get rid of some taxes on construction materials.
Yeah, what I read yesterday, the tax of the renta, it's the annual tax,
The income tax.
the income tax, that's going to be zero, and
Zero for who? For builders, you're talking about?
for houses, like for all the buildings, like.
Are we talking about? Are you talking about like what we refer to as capital gains, or are you talking about income? So like normally, if you buy a property for $100,000, you sell it for $200,000. That's a capital gain. They tax you on that. Not here in rural, but
it's more for the builders. Like
okay. So your profit as a builder.
Yes.
You're talking
like
about, okay.
If you build a house, you are not going to charge like 12% of the VAT or stuff like that.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're getting rid of the VAT, the value-added tax on.
Yeah, they are
things, yeah.
like there
Oh,
are
okay.
two things. One is the VAT, that probably they are going to take that away from the
For construction. Oh,
the
that's
construction materials, but they are reviewing that. Like we don't know for sure if that's going to happen. And what happened yesterday is that for the if you are building, you are not going to pay the annual tax, so you can lower the prices on a finished house. So that's going to promote.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah, like you know, construction is the best way to distribute wealth in every country. So they are going to focus about that. Also, a good thing that he is now part of the ONU. How the
Oh,
Nations.
the UN. Sorry, yep.
yeah,
UN, yep.
the UN, and he is he is a part of the security also. They have a
Security Council, you're talking about?
yes. So it's a part of the ONU, of the UN, that it's of security.
Okay.
And he, as a president, is a part of that, because as I've heard that you usually send consulants,
Like a representative.
representatives, there. But he's a part of. So he's going to put a lot of pressure on the security. He also has mobilized the military things that they were not on charge of things. And also, most of the representatives of the president in the different provinces, they are they were policemen or officers in the military.
I see.
Yeah, so yeah, most of the time you're hoping that the representative of the president it's someone near his campaign or stuff like that. So that was also a surprise. So yeah, that the message is that he's going to be very focused on security.
So the election had really two main issues: security and the economy, right? Is there anything I'm missing on that? I mean, that was pretty much what everybody was kind of campaigning on. Jobs and security. I think security being one, really, because of some of the cartel related violence that Ecuador's experienced over the last year or two. So given that the president is now in office, doing the things you mentioned, what's the sentiment in the country? Do people feel optimistic? Do they feel
most of the people is optimistic and very positive because he's young, he's doing things fast, he becomes from a business family, and he also is putting all his relationships because before he was in charge, he went to the States, he went to Europe, and he's doing with all his connections, trying to figure out the best for the country. It's politics, so you never know what's going to happen, but in general, we are optimistic about that.
Yeah.
There's something interesting. I just pulled, so you guys know I was in public accounting, so I just pulled like the Ernst & Young, version of what Noboa's tax plan would do, just so it could speak to me in my language. And there's something in this bill. So they're suggesting that this is going through to be effective by year end. So it's everything that Milton talked about, but there's also a tax exemption for new investments in renewable energy projects that will be exempt of income tax for 10 years. It's pretty cool. And then there's he's designated these special economic development zones that are free trade zones. So they'll have operators or users in these zones will have zero income tax for 5 years, after which they'll enjoy a 15% rate for the remaining time of their declaration. So there's a whole bunch of other things, but those two jumped out like, all right, renewable energy tax free. So they did some of that stuff in the States. Because it's not the models aren't financially, sufficient, so they incent people to do some of that kind of stuff. So that's interesting, for people that are watching our show. It's interesting because if you're building, maybe there's ways you can, lever into that and not pay tax on solar systems and that kind of stuff. I'm not sure. I don't fully understand it. Maybe it's just the businesses that are providing those services, but there's probably some stuff that we can look at to see if there's opportunities for people building here to take advantage of some of those tax savings. And
I mean, countries like Ecuador, and I can't speak well to other countries in Latin America and their tax policies and so on and so forth, but countries like Ecuador, you don't have the money velocity, right, that you have in the States, right? You don't have the dynamism, I can't say that word, in the economy that you'd have in the States, and so you can't de-incentivize. You can't de-incentivize to the degree you can in the States and still have economic activity. And so as a result of that, you've got kind of this, what I've noticed over the last 10 years is you have this kind of permanent shuffling of the cards where the tax breaks just change every 2 to 4 years, basically. The tax breaks change, but regardless of how they change, you can structure whatever you're doing to not really pay very much taxes, which is really kind of remarkable because these kinds of things that you're reading, they've had stuff like that in one form or another on the books the whole time I've been here. And every time I've gone to do something like sit down with an accountant to tax plan and go over it's always been like, oh, well, the rules right now are this, so we structure it this way, and you're exempt from all this, and blah, 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 and like you end up being basically tax free on most things most of the time. And as a little guy, you have access to all that. Like in the States, that's true too, as long as you're a mega corporation and you hit a certain threshold and you qualify for all these, benefits and subsidies and tax breaks and so. But here, that doesn't seem to be the case. Here, it really seems to apply to everyone, which is nice.
Well, like all our life, since I'm a kid, if you talk to someone, you always say that, like, hey, how's it going? Like, all good. Like the economy is not that good, but I'm good. and like I haven't heard like, no, the economy is great. We're doing great. But it's it's just a saying, And we have been surviving like this all the years, and it's true what you said, and that's very interesting because the market here, they don't dump like immediately or crash when there is a news or something, because usually we don't panic.
That's right.
The Ecuadorian doesn't panic, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, Like sometimes there is something happen, and the media goes all the way to try to panic people, and the people doesn't react immediately and doesn't panic. They want to settle down, talk to friends, talk to families, and then make a decision. Yeah, they don't panic and say, okay, Ecuador is doing bad, so let's go to another country or stuff like that. No, wait, it's going to calm down, it's going to change and stuff like that. It's always like that, so we don't panic, and that's why the market doesn't crash and stuff. It has a bounce like that, but we survive. Like the economy is pretty much the same all the time. Like
It's so funny that you say that, because I didn't know that, but when you said it and I'm start thinking back, I'm like, yeah, that's what everyone has told me for the 10 years I've been here. And and I remember like there was some years where I thought the economy was pretty good. There were some years where things were going much better than they were a couple years earlier. And from my perspective, I would have said the economy's in a pretty good place, but everyone still said that. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah,
That's interesting. I like how you say that people don't panic here, and it's true. You see that in the people, the culture. People are
with the Ecuadorians, right?
The Ecuadorians.
You see the opposite in the Gringos.
Exactly. There's a fire, right there, and nobody's panicking. Everyone's, except the Gringo.
Right.
But actually, I watched your interview with Peter from Luma. You must have been here when the Sucre collapsed.
For sure, yeah. I was
You were young.
Yeah, I was young, probably
18.
18?
Yeah, look at that. That's pretty good.
Okay. So you must remember it well, because that's a good example. Like the banks were closed for a couple of years. People didn't have access to their money.
Well, like, okay, so I was 15, because that was in 98.
It started in 98. Wow, okay.
Or 2000.
Well, yeah, because they dollarized like 99, 2000. Like I think it was right around the end of the year.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I don't have that dates pretty clear, but yeah, it was 98 through 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, but well, the thing is that we dollarize in a very bad way. I remember that the dollar probably was 10,000 sucres a dollar at that time. The people used to buy dollars a lot. It was a thing to see people in the street with suitcases full of dollars and exchanging money. Yeah, and also in the banks you had an account of dollar. Yeah, and the people was buying dollars a lot. Yeah, for sure there were people that know what was going to happen, and they stock the dollar. And then they did the change, but that was 25,000 per dollar. So it was more than
2.5 times.
two and a half, like 150% more, you know. So yeah, it was a very big mess, and yeah, and some banks collapsed also, so they closed accounts, and it was a big mess, and that was a crash for the economy at that time. Yeah, like that was. But to dollarize the economy has been very good to Ecuador, and like if you talk about prices of land probably or housing or cost per square meter, we are talking the same of 3-4 years ago. Of course, you have like a 20% more in materials or stuff like that, but it maintains. Like it's not crazy that it says after pandemic the prices went.
Yeah, I mean, using the dollar, Ecuador being on the dollar caps inflation. I mean, they can't print money, so it caps inflation.
Yeah. So yes, and well, I remember like my dad was not panic about that because he didn't have much in the bank, so he said, okay, the debt reduced, you know, because he has to pay in sucres, and with the dollar it reduced the debt. So
Sure.
yeah, he was buying a bus at that time, so something like that happened.
Yeah, it looks here like, so the banking holiday, the freeze that you were talking about, it happened in March of '99, and they froze bank accounts for a week where nobody could access anything, and then that was supposed to be all it was, but apparently, according to these articles, the situation lasted a lot longer, over a year, but they just limited what you could pull out every week, but it sounds like it was put a lot of hardship on a lot of people. Like a ton of
people
Yeah,
lost
for
a
sure.
lot of money.
Yeah.
And I guess my point is, after going through something like that, that was a good reason to panic. But then, since then, people have become very resilient, I guess.
Yeah.
From having to be patient with, this. Like, it's a pretty big deal when everything collapses.
Yeah, and like there was like families that had nothing, like or all they have is the money in the bank, and it disappeared, or the banks paid them like annually, a little by little, or stuff like that. So yeah, that law changed. For example, like now the bank system is very safe. There is a lot of laws that covers that area, so it doesn't happen that again. And also in that period of time, that's when economy and like crash, and young people or older people, they ran out of the country. So a lot of people went to Spain, I remember, and some to the States. It went a lot to Spain because at that time I think it was good to go. Like
The economy was good there. Ecuadorians went to Spain en masse and were there till like 2008 when the economy crashed in Spain, and then they started coming back. I mean, a lot of people have come back since then. Like if you talk to Ecuadorians, a lot of them have lived in Spain at some point. I mean, like it's common to talk to someone and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was in Spain from these years to these years."
Yeah. Or a relative, that was in Spain. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about some of the other reasons about like the economic factors of Ecuador, but it's interesting when you think about the cultural, psychological piece that you described about not panicking, and then some of the other things we've talked about on the pod with not having the over leveraged system with the debt markets and the tranches of levered debt in mortgages and the mortgage-backed securities and that whole thing. So then when you talk about the people don't panic so there's no crashes, and these cycles are more drawn out, they're more subtle, so there's still trends, but then when you don't have all those layers of leverage, then even when there is a panic, it's not quite the same as you see those big peaks and valleys in the States or in Canada and other places that have the debt. And then, so you have those two pieces, and then the other piece we've talked about is like the supply chains. Like the supply chains in Ecuador are relatively simple. They're not super complex like the United States, because it's a small country. It's the size of Colorado, right? So the supply chains are relatively simple. They produce a lot of, I think they're net exporters, definitely large exporters of several things like bananas, flowers, shrimp, things like that. But they produce a lot of things in the country that other places don't have. And then the things they do produce are distributed through the country relatively simply because of the size of the country, right? So the infrastructure is good enough to make that simple, and it's not as complex. So then, again, those are positives for any type of collapse type scenario. That those types of things would be much more serious in the United States or Canada than they would be in Ecuador. So it's just like a unique combination of attributes that are interesting.
Let's jump into like some reality versus perception stuff for a minute. What is your typical? What is the sort of consensus or the typical perception that Ecuadorians have about foreigners? Like, what do Ecuadorians think of foreigners?
Tell the truth.
Okay,
Tell the truth,
okay.
Milton.
No.
No.
No, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
Do they call us foreigners or do they call us gringos?
Gringos. That's the word. It's gringos. Yeah. Gringos. That's the word for everyone. Like from people of the States, from people of Europe. Yeah, all of you are gringos for us.
Is there a I've always wanted, I thought about this. Is it just anybody that's white, or is it just anybody that's from another country? So would you call somebody from Africa a gringo, somebody from Asia, are they gringos, or are they called something else?
Usually, not just, I don't know, like we don't have too many Africans here.
Right,
But we have in Esmeraldas, in the North Country, there is a lot of people that it's black. So yeah, but it's mostly like if you have if you are white or stuff, yeah, you are going to be called gringo, and probably some people that are brown or darker, you sometimes you don't know if he's gringo or not. You have to listen to him, how he speaks, and if he speaks with an accent of, or if he doesn't speak Spanish, he's gringo. So everyone that doesn't speak Spanish is
a gringo.
Is gringo. Just not the Brazilians, but everyone. It's gringo. So yeah, that's.
And is that a negative word? Like.
No.
It's just an identifier.
It's an identifier.
Yeah, because that was one of the interesting things for me to discover. Because when you're from the States, if you haven't traveled all over to Latin America, the word gringo for us basically comes from Mexico, and it's kind of an insult.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And so when I get down here, I even hear foreigners referring to themselves as gringos,
and
I'm all like, I'm ready to
this
get in my
place that
feelings about
it. It's like the gringo English pub,
Right.
Yeah, so
gringos,
it's like for here, it's a cool thing to be called a gringo.
No, and I realized that after a little while that, it's not derogatory, and they'll even, call you gringuito, or, they'll use it as almost a term of endearment as well.
Like, we don't know what that means, When I was an exchange student, I realized all of that, and when I was an exchange student there, people used to call me foreigner. So mostly I tell foreigner or expats, and try not to use the gringo word, because I know that it's not like like
endearing.
And like all the Ecuadorians, they are going to call you in a type, but they don't like to insult you, because that's also a culture. Like like when we were kids, and it's funny because they say in the group of the kids there was always the gordo, the fat.
Yep.
They were always the Chinese, you know, like
Chinito.
the chinito. Yeah. There was always the
And by the way, just to be clear about that, he doesn't mean an Asian person or a Chinese person.
No,
He just
it's-
means someone whose eyes have a little bit, have whatever, like are a little
I think every town has a
narrower
Chino.
or something.
Like
yeah.
the bicycle shop.
yeah,
Chino,
he's
yeah.
Chino, you know, because his eyes are like that, but he's Ecuadorian,
No,
you know.
and nobody would think he's Asian. either.
Right.
Yeah. So you always have these nicknames, you know,
Yeah.
for people, and the flaco,
Skinny.
the skinny, and you are called like that, like
Flaquito.
El tonto.
El Barbón.
El barbón.
What is
El
it? What is
barbón.
tonto?
Dumbass, like stupid.
What's your nickname, Milton?
Pinche man.
oh, I was
We're gonna get censored now.
You can't swear?
like
You can swear.
when
You
my
can't?
when my dad was a kid, they used to call it orejón, like big ears, you know. Yeah,
That's
so-
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, also I didn't have big ears, or probably I did a little, I don't know, but I was a orejón, you know, and they like it's funny, like I try to call all the people by the name. I don't like the nicknames, even in my crew. They all have nicknames, but I like to call them for the name. But it's usual, like, for example, in my dad business, they don't say a name, never. Like, they say just the nicknames, you know. I remember one guy that when I was a kid, I wanted to see him because he was the ballena, you know, the whale. La ballena. Was like, who is this guy? The whale.
funny.
Yeah, but he was a very big man. Yeah, so
The whale.
yeah. So yeah, we called it just nicknames.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not for
there's
insult.
no political correctness in this country, which is one of my favorite things about, one of the many things I love about the culture here. But it's like, you don't have to worry about saying something that someone could take offense and oh no, and we're all,
Yeah,
the
no,
world's
I-
gonna end because you said the wrong thing. There's none of that here.
I had troubles with that with the I don't even know now about the how is Negro
Yeah.
Negro.
yeah, so some of that word is despective, I think, in the States, you know, but
To say Negro, yeah.
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 So here in the when as we are all of different colors, there is always a negro in the
Right. Well, which in Spanish literally means black.
Right.
Like it's
Black.
just a color.
yeah.
Right.
So and we also, like, I call my daughter Negrita.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And she's hey negra, come here, because she is darker than us, and also my
So she's the mailman, is what you're saying.
so yeah, so we call it that way, and there is not offense on that for us,
Right.
you know, and there is always people that it's a negro, hey negro, come here, and stuff like that. So yeah, I was in the States, and there was a black friend that they called each other, hey, what's up, my nigger, you know. And I was trying to be friendly and like, hey, what's up, man? Like, he was pissed, and I didn't know what happened, you know. And I was like, and say like,
Welcome to U.S.
bro,
race relations.
I'm not the white, you know. Like, wait, relax.
That's great.
I'm from Latin America. How do you say it? Tell me whatever. I'm not going to be like, relax, you know. Yeah. So yeah, that was a experience. Like, you don't have that here. Like, even if the guy doesn't like the nickname, he will tell you in a cool way, like, hey, don't call me like that. I don't like it, or something like that. Yeah.
Sure.
No, I mean, I think that's a great example of how, like, the whole kind of divide and conquer thing, or the whole kind of just division in general, where people are divided along race and gender and political beliefs and economic class and all this kind of stuff is so prevalent in the U.S., right? It's like people almost don't get along based on these divisions. And it's like one of the things I appreciate most about this place is it just doesn't have any of that. That, you know, people are people. They tend to treat each other well and respectfully. They're not angry at each other over, you know, made up divisions. It's really one of the nice things here.
Yeah, and that was shocking for me. Like, you get like the people that is in the football team in the States. They are of the football team. Like, you cannot get along with the band guy, you know, and like the band, they are the band crew, and they have friends of the band, but they don't have friends of the football team.
Oh, like in colleges and universities.
He did like a semester abroad in high school in Minnesota.
Too,
so he was in Minnesota in like a public high school. Right. He was the kicker for the football team.
Yeah. So I was part of the football. So you don't have here, never like. No. And I don't know, probably in the big cities. Yeah, I don't know. When we go to the big cities and we have friends, you have a whole bunch of different friends and stuff like that you don't care who is who or which political side it is, or. Yeah. But and like the kids also, like usually when you don't care about who's playing with, you know, like you're playing with the guy that is from the store, of the guy that has a lot of money or stuff like that. You don't care about that. So it's
nice. So let's jump back to the stereotypes for a second. So what would be, you know, funny or not, it doesn't matter. Like what are the thoughts what do Ecuadorians think about foreigners? Like what are the stereotypes? Like if you know, these are different cultures, you know, like it took me a year or two or three to really understand how to like function well in this society given the differences. And you know, I personally like really love it. You know, I love the way the culture is here, but you have to acclimate, like you have to adjust your thinking and your mentality in order to be able to, you know, interact in the easiest, cleanest, healthiest way, you know, because it is different. And so we must look very funny in many ways, you know, to Ecuadorians, because I don't know, we're like outrageous, I think, you know. It's like we come from anyways, go ahead. What's the
like most of Ecuadorians think that the gringos are like us, because sometimes you expect something like I told the gringo to do something, you know, and like I have to say no, they are, it's not like that. You have to explain them like what's going to be, like, for example, for the cost and stuff like that, so they understand good at first, and then they will make a decision. But like the Ecuadorians, we don't plan too much, like to make decisions, you know. Like when you talk to a friend or something, like, hey, let's go to in 2 weeks to the beach. They say, hey, do we have something in 2 weeks? No? Okay, let's go. And you go. But the gringos plan, you know. So, like, the old culture, we don't know too much about the gringos culture. So, I understand that because I lived there. And I know, and I try to be on time. By the way, these guys are more Ecuadorian than me on time. They are always late. I worry, like 5 minutes late, I send a message and they are chill. Okay.
But what time we were supposed to start at 9:30 today?
9:30, yeah.
And what time did Jesse roll in?
10:15. Okay. So yeah, like that,
well, I'm just gonna let you have that one, bro. I'm just gonna let you have that.
The perspective is that you are going to act as we act, and also a thing that I don't like that much is that the Ecuadorians do think that all the foreigners came here because they have like money, you know, and then sometimes they are going to trick you I don't know, if you are buying a car, for example, and you are a foreigner, they are going to put more on you. But it's not just the gringo, because I have a cousin. He's from Chile, and he gets that too, because he speaks different, you know. And when they try to sell something to him, and they hear that he is not from here, they try to raise the price. That's a thing that most of the Ecuadorians think about the gringos.
And we've got money, basically.
Yeah, and then yeah.
And that we won't negotiate, or we'll just pay whatever the price is asked, maybe.
Yeah, probably like that. And like I work for expats, you know, like I do houses for expats. So some of my colleagues say, hey, you are in a very good position because you are working for gringos and they have money.
Yeah.
Come on, like, and I always say to them, like, you don't have to do that, because one way or another, you are going to end up, if an expat is living here like 1 or 2 years or 3 years, they are going to know that you probably charge them more or stuff like that. So I try to advise to them to be serious and not to overcharge people. That's a bad thing.
Long term, that's not going to work out, right?
No,
Well,
no,
but-
for sure, because your reputation is going to go down.
Right.
Yeah.
But the general idea is that gringos have money.
Yeah, that's a general
Yes,
idea.
for sure.
Yeah.
Which, you know, there are a lot of people that come here because they can't afford living in the States. They actually come here, they don't have, you know,
Yeah.
it's a misconception that all foreigners are wealthy. But they see us and they just assume they have money because they're
Yeah.
gringos.
And also, like, being a foreigner here, I think it's probably you have noticed that all the people tries to help you in every time. Like, I remember, I don't remember specifically, but I used you one time. Like I said, Jesse, go talk to them because you are a foreigner and they are going to be
Yeah.
more friendly like me, you know. So yeah, like sometimes people from here, when we do projects with the neighbors, for example, they are tougher with us, like as we are Ecuadorians. But if an expat appears, they are like trying to behave good. They are trying to help and stuff like that, you know. So
Interesting.
they always are going to try to help, and people also is very friendly. That also was a big thing for me in the States, because I was used to the friendly people here. Like when you are new or when you have a foreign student here in Ecuador, he's friend all the people, because all the people wants to know him. Like if he doesn't speak English, it doesn't matter. Like, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? Okay, do you want to hang out? We pass by you or stuff like that. So all the people approach. There is different. You have to say, hey, hello, I'm Milton from Ecuador. I want to be your friend. Can we go out? So it's different, you know. It's different, and that was that was.
And that's Minnesota. Imagine
Right.
some other
That's
place.
Minnesota night, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, that's an interesting point that you bring up. Like my perception as a foreigner, you know, living and doing business here, corroborates that for sure. So it's like you have a lot of advantages here as a foreigner based on people's perceptions of foreigners and then the way they treat you as a result. So people here, you know, are very friendly and helping and kind, in my opinion, in general. And then I believe there's an extra level of that for foreigners, right? So you get a little, like you said, you get an extra level of service, an extra level of kindness, an extra level of that kind of stuff. And you also, people tend to, the stereotype I've noticed sometimes with foreigners is that they're on time and they do what they say, right? And
Yes,
so
yeah.
you can really use that as an advantage, because when you're talking to someone, they already automatically take you seriously. Whereas if an Ecuadorian calls, they might be like, they don't know. They don't know if he's going to show up. They don't know if they're going to be on time. They don't know if he really has what he says he has, these kinds of things. At least from a perception, from a stereotype standpoint. And so as a foreigner, yeah, you kind of have that advantage of sort of being taken seriously no matter what. You know, even if you shouldn't be, right? Like you're gonna get taken seriously, which is a nice advantage. I think the disadvantages, or disadvantage if there are any, is, you know, you do stand out, so you're gonna be probably slightly more likely to be a target of a crime than you would be if not. You know, just because you stand out, you know, you're different. I don't know if there's any others. I mean, that might be the only.
Well, the Gringo pricing that he talked about.
The Gringo pricing, that's another one.
Which, you know, we've talked about this before too. That's just where, particularly people that are coming here, like you want to be part, you know, I came here for a community, for people, so relationships matter. So you can have relationships. So to avoid getting Gringo price, like I just had a perfect example. Milton helped me buy a car. He did all the front end, so they didn't even know it was me at first, and so that I didn't get
no, that's a great point.
Gringo priced on a larger purchase like that, where, you know, it could add up. You know.
No, and I would even add to that, really just your ability to operate in general and just get stuff done. Like, for a foreigner, I'm like as good as it gets, you know, I mean, at getting stuff done in Ecuador for a foreigner.
Right.
And there's still tons of stuff I don't do myself. I go through Ecuadorians. You know, I call Milton all the time for help with stuff, you know, because his network's deeper than mine. They'll treat him in a way that they won't treat me. He'll be able to talk and just maneuver in a way that I don't quite understand and can't do.
Yeah.
And so my ability to operate is less than his, period. And I think I could be here 30 more years and that would still be the case. It's not orders of magnitude. Like, I could still get it done, but he'll get it done faster, better, and cheaper, you know, than I could, with less stress and hassle. So, you know, I think you have a slightly, if you don't have those deep social ties and the nuanced understanding of the communication and the innuendo and, you know, how that works, and then even like, you know, you watch Ecuadorians talk to each other and negotiate and go into business deals and stuff, the way they go about making their points to get a little discount or to get an advantage in the negotiation is so different than the way we would do it, right? I mean, here people might tell you their personal life story in a business setting, in a negotiation. Can you imagine, you know, you're sitting in a boardroom in New York and someone's telling you about how their kid, you know, needs surgery and, you know, and like, it would, you know, this would never happen. It would almost be offensive if somebody brought that into the negotiation.
It's not business,
right, it's not business. Well, here there's no such thing as not. Everything's personal. There isn't any such thing. So people go about that and they have their cues and their sort of, look, I'm going to say this, which everyone knows means all these things. And so, you know, if you're from here, then you know that and you can operate that way. It's a little harder as a foreigner to.
I'll give a funny anecdote that I don't know if you guys have that experience, but if you try to sell something, and this is maybe not all Ecuadorians are like that, but I'll just give you the example. If you try to sell something on Facebook Marketplace or social media or something like that, you put an ad. If someone's interested, I literally get like 20 messages where all they'll say is "precio tope" with a question mark. "Precio tope." Like that's their way of negotiating. They're like, "What's your lowest price?"
Yeah,
Like,
no, all the
that's
time.
all they say.
Yeah, all the time. Here, you're going to get that. It's funny because I saw a video of a girl, of a lady, like a senior lady, in the States, and she was saying in Spanish to his daughter, like, I really like this purse, you know, but it's too much. They have to lower the price. Can you ask that for me? And she was, no, you don't do that. No, tell him that I'm going to take two. Yeah, two.
And all cash.
All cash. Get the discount. So you try. You always get, like, I don't know, in every item. Like if you go to buy, I usually buy a lot of tires for the car. So you go and speak, like, how much does it cost? I don't know, 150. Okay. So if I get two, how much? If I get 3 or 4, how much? I'm going to pay you cash. So how you know,
And the just for the viewers, the cash can cut out the value-added tax.
Yeah,
So
they
there's
don't
a
have to declare
12% VAT. So a lot of people, if you want to pay cash, they won't charge you the VAT, the 12%.
yeah, if they doesn't give you the invoice.
Right.
If they don't give you the receipt,
Yeah,
right?
but
Exactly.
that's going to be in the stores that are not
Not the big stores.
not the big
Right.
stores. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's changing a little bit. Like there was more of that 5-10 years ago than there is.
Yeah. We used to do, I don't know, like the word in Spanish is regatear. I don't know what's the word in English for that, but you since you are a kid, you regatear, like I saw
Negotiate.
negotiate, yeah,
Or
but
haggle. Or
Barter, haggle.
yeah, and they do it. It's in the culture also that like my kid tries to negotiate all the time with the grandma and says like and try to get more money for like, hey, I'm going to buy this. It costs a dollar, but it can be $1.50, grandma, and stuff like that. And then they try to negotiate always. So it is in the culture.
Yeah, let's see, there's something I wanted to say about that. Shoot, it was good. All right, I'll move on. All right, so let's jump into construction. Obviously, this is your area of expertise. Carl was making a good point, I think, before the pod, like, I think, well, this is true anywhere in the world, but land prices here, your cost for land is so varied based on area and amenities and so on and so forth. So, there's places in Ecuador that are dirt cheap. There's places in Ecuador that are really expensive. I'm talking like international standards, so people come down, they can be surprised either way on prices of land, especially in sought after areas. It's not cheap. I mean, I was making a point on the pod a couple weeks, whenever that was. I was up in Quito in this little town called Puembo. I'm sure you've been there. And I was just, for fun, I had a couple of days and I was just checking out a couple of lots just for curiosity. I forget what it was now. I think it was do you guys remember?
Like
I'm actually forgetting now, but it was
$150 a square meter.
Yeah, it was like, or maybe even 300. I don't remember now. It's on a previous pod, but it was like here we're paying in Vilcabamba, which is, we consider this like really expensive, like $20-$30 a square meter for like a really sought after small lot. There it was like 200 or 300 or I don't remember now, but it was, many, for me it was insanely expensive. You're spending like 400,000 on a little lot or, things like that. So people might see those prices, for example, right, be shocked at how expensive it is. In other places you can buy a whole mountain for $100,000, right? So there's a lot of variation there. But then Carl was making a good point, is like, regardless of what you're paying for land here, your construction costs are so much less than they would be in a place where you have winter and you have all the codes and the inspections and the red tape and the bureaucracy, and you need air conditioning and heating and all the stuff that goes along with it.
Cost of labor.
The cost of labor, that's probably the biggest one, actually, yeah. So anyways, let's talk a little bit about sort of just construction costs and timelines and what any information you want to share on building here.
Okay. Well, the timeline is going to be more than the States, because we don't use the drywall concept, and you cannot find like all the things are handmade, and you have to order that to a workshop of someone local, and he needs time to deliver the work. Windows, for example, you cannot just buy prefabricated windows, and
it's all custom made.
Custom made, and well, I'm also happy for that, because it helps to the economy, and every prefabricated thing that wanted to enter Ecuador hasn't gone for much time, because the people try to build the same for the same price, so you prefer custom made, and so yeah, and also I think we built a house for Bill and Margaret, and they were so happy with the craftsmanship and also the materials, and she said like, this is better than my house in the States, and I was like kind of surprised, but when you realize and of course in the States it's with a wood frame, and you have a drywall, siding, and stuff like that, but here is with concrete, bricks, real wood, real stone. So there are materials that last longer,
Of course.
and also building here for culture, the building has to to
To last.
to last. Yeah, so you build here to last. Yeah, that says the pricing per square meter, it's very affordable. You can have a house for $400 per square meter, and you also can have a house. It depends of the finishes for $800 per square
Yeah,
meter.
so like 400 to 800 a square meter. So that's like
$40 and
yeah,
$80 in
a square foot,
right?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, because it's divided by 10. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like 10 points. It's closer to, anyways, yes, it's close enough.
10.76,
Yeah,
yeah.
closer to 11, but it doesn't matter. Yeah,
yeah,
approximately.
Yeah. So it when you build, of course, when you build, and also in this area is when you buy also a house, the prices in Loja, they are around 900 to 1,200 dollar per square meter.
You're talking about, basically, you're talking about brand new apartments,
Right,
correct?
yeah, that they are selling.
Which would be considered, sorry to interrupt you, I just want for context. Those apartments that are like, you're saying like 900 to 1,200 a square meter? Yeah. Those apartments in Loja, for Loja, would be considered high end. That's nice stuff, correct?
Yes, well, it's not like too much high end, like because it considers also the soil. You are paying for the soil. But in Quito, you have pricing of 3,000 per square meter. In Guayaquil, you have also like 2,200 and 500. And in Cuenca also the prices are around $2,000 per square meter. So that's the pricing of a brand new house, and you pay for square
Apartment, right?
apartments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because
houses are less because you've already paid for the land, or?
yeah, it depends. Sometimes, yeah, like in houses, when you are building, it's a lot less because of the land. You are not considering the land. If you and there is also these condos that they sell you for a square meter also, like, and they will charge you a little more if they have things around like a pool, amenities.
Sure.
Yeah.
So for a little context, so the first range you gave of $400 to $800 a square meter if you're building yourself for a house here. So if I'm building then, a 100 square meter house, it's 40 to 80 grand. That's about 1,100 square feet. If I'm building, let's double that, right? If I'm building 200 square meters, that's 80 to 160 grand, and that's going to be about 2,200 square feet. If I'm doing all that math correctly.
Yeah,
That's right.
like most of the houses that we have built here, it's in the range of 120 and 160. That's the range of our regular home that we have done here, of 3 bedrooms, like big bedrooms. You have a dining, living, and the kitchen also big, with overhangs and patio and stuff like that. So that's the range here of most
And,
of
and from start to finish, more or less, what's a typical timeline?
the timeline. It's about 10 months. That's what you
Start to finish. So
Start to
so
finish.
planning to completion, basically.
when you start building.
Okay, so that's post. So the
Post planning.
Post planning. Okay, so the 10 months does not include the drawings and the permissions. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't include that.
Okay.
It depends also. Like here, you are not used to most of our old clients. They want custom-made homes.
Right.
Yeah. So there is some people that takes their time in doing all the reviews, all the changes. Usually that takes a month with an Ecuadorian, with an expat probably can take 3 months or more
So
sometimes.
expats tend to be a lot more particular with
More
how-
particular,
yeah.
a lot more particular. Yeah, there is a lot of. It's more work for me to work for an expat than an Ecuadorian because are more particular, and also like they want things that where they lived wanted to be in the house, and you have to research and see how to get that done, or they see things around and they pick and they say, I want this that I see in these homes that I like. I want all of these things here. So you have to play with the design to fit all of the stuff there. So yeah, that takes time. One is planned. You have the 10 months period, and it's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about a year that it will cost with planning if you are not that picky or you are not changing things all the time.
So if I wanted to build sort of a more cookie cutter, simpler house, could I do that in less than 6 months, or are we still in the?
Probably six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did a very simple house. They knew what they wanted since the beginning, and it was 6. I think it was 7 months that we delivered that house.
All right, so, thank you for taking the time today, Milton. If you guys are enjoying this, please hit the like button. If you have questions for Milton, please put them in the comments. If you want to talk to Milton, shoot us a message. We'll put you guys in touch. Milton, any sort of tips or advice, anything you would say to foreigners who are thinking about coming here, or any information, anything that is relevant that you think, that you've worked with a number of foreigners, of course, over the years. You've been here you've been here your whole life, but in terms of working with foreigners, and you've been doing that for a while. So you've seen the differences, right? You've seen how people relate to the world, and some of the attitudes and some of the expectations and some of the great things and uncomfortable things for them about moving here and living here. Do you have any suggestions or anything you would say that people might find useful?
Well, first one, come enjoy the country because it's beautiful. I've done a lot of traveling, and every time that I come from abroad, I really love my country. Like we have explore the country first because we have a lot of things. You have all the Amazon region that it's gorgeous, different climate. You have a Sierra region also, coast. You have the Galapagos also. So explore the country so you know where you want to live. There is some indigenous towns also that it's great, and you will be involved in the culture of them. So first that, and then when you are going to make a decision of buying land, make it review with a lawyer all the time, that the boundaries are correct, that everything is correct in the register, municipality and stuff like that. That's very important because mostly like in the countryside, that here in Vilcabamba, there is a lot of
Title issues.
of title issues that is going to play back in like it's going to take you time. It's not going that you are going to buy fake things, but it's going to take you time to do all the diligence. And other thing, it will be to also ask about pricing and stuff, and then make your decision. One important thing that I always say is please contract an architect or an engineer that knows how to do things. Like we don't charge as professionals. the fee of a professional here in Ecuador in general, in lawyers, architects, accounting things, are not very high. So contract a professional, he's going to help you. If you want to go in an adventure, probably try yourself. But as I know, most of the people that have done that, they double price sometimes the things.
People get ripped off.
Yeah.
And
Actually, I'd love to jump on that because I was talking to a client recently, and that was their thinking, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to save some money by hiring a crew without a contractor and an architect," and they said they could do it for less and da-da-da. After the house was finished, the person was telling me it cost them $1,000 a square meter. I was doing the math. How much did it cost to build? And it was like $1,000 a square meter. And I saw pictures of the house. It doesn't look like something that should cost that much at all. So they probably got overcharged and took a lot longer than expected.
And also, when you do a contract, like all the people here in Ecuador, they are going to say that are going to save you cost and they are going to build you cheaper. Yeah. All the people, like say, hey, look, he's going to give me that price. No, it's too much. I'll do it cheaper for you. But you need to know what is going to be in the house. So for that, for example, we do the contracts. We specify everything that is going to be in the contract, so you really know what's going to be there. Because I can bill for $400 per square meter easily, but it's going to be missing some stuff, or the cabinets are going to be different, or
The quality of the finishing materials is going to be at that price level.
Yeah. So that's a thing to be careful also about that. And I had a client that we did a project here, and she was doing a project in the jungle, I think, and she hired in the jungle a crew, and she had someone in charge that always was a expat, I think, and but they didn't have a budget. So here we stuck into the budget. At the end, she knew how much it was going to cost, and we stuck to the budget. She added some things, but it was okay. And she was saying me like, it's a nightmare. Like there we double the price by doing these things. We double all the price. We didn't have the budget there. So that, to be careful. I think that will be a good advice.
All right, guys. If you want to see Milton weekly, we're thinking monthly. You want to see? No, we're thinking monthly. But maybe they want to see weekly. If you want to see Milton's face once a week on YouTube, bi-weekly, monthly. If you want to hear about Milton's favorite places in Ecuador. Milton spends a lot of time in the Galapagos. He's traveled all over the country. You could probably get some great stories on some of the amazing locations around the country. Anything else you want to hear from a lifelong Ecuadorian who knows this country inside and out and has a lot of great insights and perspectives to share, please put them in the comments. Let us know what you guys are looking for. So we,
if you want to see more Milton, type famous Milton in the comments below. Famous Milton. Thanks, Milton. This is awesome, man.
Yeah. Also, we're gonna add a bunch of we're gonna have a bunch of
you
footage.
are now, bro.
We're gonna add a bunch of footage of some of the houses that you've built, some of the examples. We'll put that at the end of the video as the outro come out.
Cool,
so
thank you.
See some of the beautiful houses that you've built.
If you want to know about more Ecuador or stuff like that, just ask. I will be happy to help you out, and I love to travel, so I can give you tips of where to go, or I can take you. I want to take this guy to Galapagos.
We want to go too, so
we'll go.
We'll make it happen. And you know what we've never done? You guys watch these videos, but you've never seen the man behind the curtain. Ven un segundo, Fernando. This is Fernando, our amazing video editor, photographer, who does all the work. He's got this all set up here, so just wanted to share that with you. Another member of the team, as is Milton. So
all the filming, the drone, the video editing, all of that good stuff. The photo editing, he does all of that. So it's a blessing to have him.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.
You.
Somebody say taglines. I don't remember what they are.
We hope to see you here one day.
So until then,
We'll see you next time.
Ciao, guys.
Ciao.
Ciao.